Governor DeSantis, let's talk politics for a minute. It's been kind of interesting what's happening with him.
Yeah.
He went on this book tour, which I thought was pretty lackluster. I mean, he didn't make like a big splash. It didn't really help his poll numbers. He went into like only super friendly places and really didn't make a lot of news. Then he went on this little world tour where he went to visit 5 different countries. And I don't know what to make of it, Pat, because there was this very nasty report in Politico about how that went. In particular, this appearance he made in Great Britain. But, the press hates him. So I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt while still being open-minded to who he is, because we don't know him enough. We don't actually know whether this is why you have a primary. Like, you have to test the guy and see how. But this is what Politico said. They said he met with more than 50 representatives of major UK firms and business lobbying groups. I mean, he's of course running. Like, I love how we all have to pretend he hasn't announced yet. He might not be running. Why the hell would the governor of Florida be doing any of this? One UK business figure said DeSantis, quote, looked bored and, quote, stared at his feet. Quote, he had been to 5 different countries in 5 days and he definitely looked spent, but his message wasn't presidential. He was horrendous. A second business figure who's in the room said it was a, quote, low wattage performance that, quote, nobody in the room was left thinking this man's going places. They said it felt really a bit like we were watching a state-level politician. I wouldn't be surprised if people in attendance came out thinking, that's not the guy. So what do we have? We have a left-wing publication citing 2 people who were in the room who were underwhelmed by DeSantis. Okay. To me, that sounds like what the press is going to do against any Republican who might be up and coming. But the polls also show he's struggling. He's struggling within the Republican Party to really resonate. There are new polls out just today, over the past couple days. There's CBS YouGov. Trump 58, DeSantis 22. That's not good. The previous was Trump 42, DeSantis 32. So it was just a 10-point difference in February. Emerson, Trump 62, DeSantis 16. Previously, there had been a 30-point difference between the two of them in February. Trump continues to rack up pretty much all the endorsements there are to get in the Republican Party. So where does that leave us, right? Because how do we factor in left-wing media bias against Republican candidates? And is DeSantis genuinely faltering? Because this stuff about not being able to really connect with people is a recurring theme.
Well, you said something, I want to say 5 weeks ago when you said, why are you not coming onto my podcast to promote the books? Or this was 6 weeks ago when you said this, and I fully agreed with you. I don't understand the marketing side. I don't think they have a strength when it comes onto the marketing side. See, in a company, if I were to hire Ron DeSantis as a president of a company, okay, say a GE hires him, say a company that's about driving initiatives, recruiting, hitting markers, quarterly numbers, doing quarterly calls, I think he would totally crush it, right? Because Tim Cook's not a personality guy. You don't go to Tim Cook and say, well, Tim Cook, if he was only a little bit more charismatic, Apple would have done better. No, Tim Cook took Apple when Steve Jobs died from a $100 billion company to nearly a $3 trillion company that's 30xing a $100 billion company. And nobody, not one person in the world is going to get up there and saying, here's 10 keys to Tim Cook's charismatic personality. We're never going to say that. So in that arena, I think DeSantis would crush it. In the arena of being a leader of a military unit, a general, he would crush it. When you get into politics, there's this thing called cameras, okay, and TV and news, and you have to sell the audience, okay? Vivek Ramaswamy is getting all this momentum. You know who he is. You hosted one of the great debates right after him and David Sachs went at it. I thought it was fantastic what you did. We're seeing him everywhere. Literally, you're seeing him everywhere. He's selling himself. He's selling his ideas. A lot of us are going like this, and we're saying, it's actually a good idea. I actually like the way he handled Don Lemon. I actually like the way he did this. And we're starting to say this more and more and more. And it's kind of like, I'm kind of liking this guy a lot, right? Now, let's go to Ron DeSantis. We had this conversation today on our podcast with Jedediah and Bila and a bunch of different guys that we had here. And here's what we talked about. The concept of blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy, some will say, is the greatest marketing book ever written. If you've never read it, you have to read it. It sold 5.5 million copies. And it's known as the top 10 best business books of all time. I expect everybody that works for me to read this book. Phenomenal book. In the book, they give the formula of how companies and individuals, us, can go compete against somebody that's big in the marketplace and not get on a red ocean, instead compete in a blue ocean. Red ocean is sharks that are all eating from each other, and there's blood everywhere. It's red, like I steal your guys, you steal my guys, I steal your clients, I'll give you a better deal, I'll give you better this, I'll pay you more. It's a red ocean. Blue ocean says, no, just get away from that ocean and go into a complete different market, kind of like Yellowtail, the drink, used to compete with wine. Finally, they said, no, we're not going to be competing with wine. Let's go compete with beer companies. And then all of a sudden, they went and brought beer drinkers because their drink was $6, and then boom, they took off, right? Okay, let's look at Ron Desantis. The formula is create, eliminate, increase, decrease, okay, to separate yourself. For example, when I started my own insurance company, I looked at the marketplace. The average agent was a 56-year-old white male, is what the average agent in the insurance industry was. It was 17% women, 56 years old, and nobody used social media. So I sat there and said, okay, I'm going to eliminate securities licenses. We're not going to use Series 766. We're just going to do live. We're going to increase social media presence because no one's using it. We're going to create an environment to target women because women can talk to other women who are the decision makers about life insurance, because typically mothers and wives are more concerned about life insurance than husbands and fathers are. That's going to be our audience. So today, if we put a convention together at August with 15,000 people there, the average agent's going to be a 34-year-old Hispanic female. That's what you call a blue ocean. Then the market comes and they buy our company a year ago, and it was a beautiful experience that we had, right? Let's go to Ron DeSantis as a product. As a product. Charisma. Can you go face-to-face against Trump? No way. You're not going to win. Trust me. Ask Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. You're not going to be able to do that. Trolling. Can you go up against Trump? Nope. You're talking about a street brawler from New York. Good luck trying to do that side. Okay. Where can he go and do that? Military background. Everything he does, it needs to be at a military unit because he served in the military and he was a JAG lawyer for Navy SEAL unit, all this stuff. Trump can't do that. He can't. Kind of like, remember back in the days when Dukakis tried to set himself up as a leader and he's in the tank, boom, it was over. That is actually an audience that he can play off of. There's 30 million veterans in America. That's a big vote. You can go work off of that. And we'll look at this guy. He looks like he's a military guy. He looks like the commander-in-chief. If he goes and talks about his track record during COVID, is there anybody above him on handling of COVID? Are you kidding me? You got the woke.
Kristi Noem. She's there, but she's not running.
Yeah, you got well, I agree. Totally, you're right. You got the woke who couldn't stand your policies. You forced them, while they had BLM on the floor, to host the NBA Finals in Florida. I mean, how much of I would be talking about that 24/7. AOC came to your state for vacation during Christmas. This should be like, the greatest hits that he can go on nonstop. Now, this is the other part that sometimes, Megyn, if let's just say, I'm assuming you and Tucker have spoken. I'm not asking for you to answer that. I'm just saying, I'm assuming you and Tucker have spoken. Why is that an assumption? Well, because Tucker is probably a good idea for him to call you. Why is that a good idea? Because you've been through this before, okay, in a different way, but you know what that experience is to go through with Fox. So he's probably called you. I'm assuming Tucker's probably spoken to Beck and maybe even spoken to Bill O'Reilly. Why? Because these were all at one point cream of the crop, right? There is wisdom in calling somebody else that's gone through what you've gone through. Do I think Governor Ron DeSantis has called others to ask for wisdom of what to do, or do I think their camp thinks they know exactly what they're doing? I don't know. But if I'm a betting man, I'm more betting on them thinking they know what they're doing rather than leaning on others who have been through this before to say, what should we do with our marketing strategy? Should I be out there more? I'm in Israel. Yeah, I'm doing this, hey, he's looking tired. What should I be saying when I'm doing this? I think there's an element of that where you got to bring some of the right supporting cast around you to help with the strategy. Who knows? Look, in about 2 weeks when he's going to be making the announcement that he's running because, he's got to lock in his governor position. Maybe in 2 weeks when he comes out, Megyn, he's going to shock the hell out of all of us. He's going to take the gloves and say, ready? Let's go, because I'm free now. You were thinking I was afraid? I've not been afraid. I couldn't make the decision till now. Let's roll. And maybe we're going to be shocked. But until then, I think a lot of the criticism he's getting is fair.
He's going to be in Iowa at the same time as Donald Trump, which seems like a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, that seems like taking on Trump in his territory. Remember Trump last time in Iowa was literally giving people free helicopter rides in his helicopter.
But that's him. He's the marketing guy. He gets marketing. Trump is a marketer.
Yeah. True. I mean, that's how he made most of his money before The Celebrity Apprentice, was just marketing out his name and getting paid license fees. He didn't actually run these buildings. He let them use the Trump name, which, used to be not that controversial. It's different now. All those buildings along the Upper West Side where you used to ride the West Side Highway was Trump, 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 Trump. Not a single one has that anymore because it's the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
But it's tough to have it like head to head where you're trying to charm people and out-charm Trump. But I think you're making good sense. I mean, like maybe he could lean in. If I were DeSantis, and I'm not saying this because I complained that he didn't come on the show and give me an interview because I really think he should have done that. But I actually, if I were DeSantis, I would say go on with somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, who can help you own your foibles, your weaknesses, who can help you make fun of yourself. Like I would ask him, what's with the weird head bob? What are you doing that? Like, why am I seeing these videos if you're looking like that? It's like kind of off-putting. I would ask him that. I asked Putin why he's doing all these shirtless photos. Trust me, I would ask DeSantis this question. And then we'd have a chance to laugh about it.
You have a track record of asking those questions.
Yeah, I do. And then we'd have a chance to laugh about it. And I think people would get to see him be maybe self-deprecating, maybe own like a little weirdness about him. Maybe he's like a little nerdy. You know, I don't know but like the answer is not to keep yourself in only protected spaces. Even Trump, you know, next week he's going to do a town hall on CNN, which is like, okay, that is not a safe space for Trump. I'm actually kind of curious about the strategy. I don't think there's a lot of gettable voters on, you know, watching CNN right now. I see why CNN wants to do it. But I applaud the decision to just sort of go in places that are unexpected.
You got to respect that, right? I mean, you know, when you think about boxing, UFC, MMA, we like fights. You got to love the guy that's willing to go anywhere, anytime to brawl and fight. There's something about that that's very attractive and appealing with Trump wanting to go on CNN. Strategically, logically, on 70 different points, we can say, don't do this. It doesn't make any sense. But what's he going to do? Is Trump going to wait for Fox to flip their positions from DeSantis to Trump? Because, you know, a lot of times you're hearing about the news that, you know, Fox is taking a position with DeSantis over Trump. And even the poll that came out is a Fox poll that's showing Trump ahead of DeSantis. So Trump's not going to be the one that's going to wait for Fox to want to support him. That's not his play. He will go find a media. You know why? Because there's certain people in the world that when you put the camera in front of them, they get eyeballs. People want to know what they have to say. There's not too many of them. He's at the top of that list. When he talks, people show up. And CNN knows financially they're making the right move to get him on there. But I know you're saying, is there going to be anybody to flip there? I think you and I may be surprised how many people are sitting there and saying, really, I have to choose between this guy and Joe Biden? I mean, so many people that are not politically conservative or libertarian or independent. Megyn, Joe Rogan just said if he had to choose between Biden and Trump, he's going Trump. If you would have said Joe's going to say this 7 years ago.
People may not know this. He's a lefty. He wanted Bernie Sanders last time.
He wanted Bernie Sanders. So Elon Musk is now sitting there saying anything but Biden. So, you know, I think you don't need as big of an audience as we think we need. You need a small percentage of people to flip. And if CNN's willing to host it, you know what he's going to do. He's going to troll them. He's going to mock a lot of people. He's going to tell a couple jokes. He's going to call out and push his agenda. And they're going to ask him tough questions. He's going to flip it on them. The interviewer is going to be just as scared as anybody else to interview him because he knows the interview is going to flip very, very quickly when you interview somebody like Trump. And he's going to handle it. But, you know, again, the question is conversion. You're asking the right question. We're going to find out 16 months from now, whatever the timeline is, 15 months from now, 17 months from now, if it's going to work or not.
It is an interesting strategy because, you know, I realize Fox has gone pro DeSantis, though, I mean, I really think they need to be open-minded. It's like DeSantis isn't doing very well right now. I know he hasn't declared, but so far it's been a stumble out at the starting gate. I think that's fair to say. You got Tim Scott, who's about to declare. You got Asa Hutchinson, who doesn't really have much going on. You got Nikki Haley. Mike Pence is probably going to throw his hat in soon. You got Vivek, who is very interesting. I really hope people are open-minded to him. I think Vivek's biggest problem is he kind of looks like the smartest kid in the class who's always correcting everybody. It's like that he's got to be careful. You don't want to be that annoying kid. But he does know more about virtually everything than anyone. I mean, like there's a reason he's so confident. So they have to keep an open mind because this is a primary process and it plays out for over a long period of months for a reason. If you went back and looked at who was in the lead in April or May of 2015, which would be the equivalent of where we are now, I believe it was Jeb Bush. I'm pretty sure it was Jeb Bush. I interviewed him at Liberty University. It did not go well. And he soon fell out of the first position. And before we knew it, Donald Trump was number one by that August debate. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and by the way, Jeb had $140 million to start off with. And remember, we used to talk about Walker. Oh, Walker's going to be the president. And the numbers just came back for Florida. I think Wall Street Journal article came out yesterday talking about the fact that DeSantis is starting off with $86 million, which is a good amount of money to start off with as well. Give or take, maybe $1 million off, but he's starting off with some money as well. This is more than just money. You're going to need more than money to win this one here. This is going to be ugly. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be manipulative. It's going to be deceptive. It's going to be strange. It's going to be things could change. It's going to be like one of those games that you watch where, great football game or great playoffs game where the score changed 17 different times. There was 16 ties. And I think this is going to be that. I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Here's the real capper. Trump could be in jail. Like, the Republicans need to be open-minded to who else is in the field, whether you like DeSantis or not, because he's got, by my count, at least 4 prosecutors coming for him. I don't think much of these prosecutions, but that's not to say a jury will agree with me. So things could get really wacky over the next couple of years. As we get into this. All right,
flip
stand
it on
by.
The other side. I mean, the president's granddaughter right now is not being helped. You know which one I'm talking about? Hunter's
daughter.
This is not a good look, but I think the scorecard is going to change many, many times. I think it's going to be nasty. I think it's going to be ugly. I think there's a lot of different possibilities. What happens? I do believe the debates are going to be some of the most viewed ever. Ratings we're ever going to see. This is going to be in the media space. And listen, if I think about, David versus Goliath, first of all, Joe Biden is not a Goliath in any way. He got elected for many different reasons. But I think this is going to be, if you like the game of politics and you're in that space, which you're selling ideas, man, I am so curious to know these strategic people behind closed doors, what they're going to do. Is the left going to leverage, like you saw what he said at the dinner? He says, well, hey, there's a lot of media owners here. There's CNBC in here, which they own NBC. The NBC owns CNBC, and there is Dominion here, which owns Fox News. Those are jokes that the writer wrote. That's a very good joke for the writer to write. It's like those moments where you're going to see, hey, if this is, you keep talking about Fox News, you keep talking about fake news, how about Fox, the fact that they paid a record-breaking $787 to Dominion? These things are going to get the audience to be thinking about, well, record-breaking, man, maybe Fox is the one that, so people, again, if the left uses that, Roe v. Wade, this percentage of America was not for it, but look what they did. There's a lot of different ways that you're going to have to, the political strategists are going to be talk about this, avoid talking this. That was not a good timing. That is something we should avoid. Don't address that. There is no winning in that argument. We don't need to touch that argument. Touch this argument. Push this even harder. That's what Trump did so eloquently and abruptly in 2015 and 2016 that worked for him. So it's going to be a very unpredictable 15, 16, 17
Well, that's
months.
the thing. So Trump is slippery on a lot of the really tough issues, which is a skill in a politician. DeSantis has the advantage or disadvantage, depending on the issue and how you look at it, of actually being in command right now down in Florida. So, he just signed off on that bill that moved the abortion limit back to 6 weeks. That's going to be controversial in the general election. This has been a very animating issue for the left, for women who are in the center, even some, center-right women who are pro-choice, for whom this is an important issue, might hold that against him. Trump is, yes, he gave us the 3 Supreme Court justices who overturned Dobbs, but he's slippery on this stuff and can't necessarily be pinned down as well as you would like him to. I can speak to that firsthand.